Let's go with this first, and then I'll show you why. Well, I'll tell you why. And this will probably be a two-part video. So you fell into the danger, and you're all alone tonight. Well, you're surrounded by the hurt and pain, and you just don't care for the sight. We'll come running to your side. We will protect you from your fright. All of us are on your side. We'll take them. We'll take them down. Fight. 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 You know you must be strong and hold your own, 'cause the power's on your side. The enemy will try to give you fear, but you never run or hide. Yeah, that used to be me. We'll come running to your side. We will protect you from your fright. All of us are on your side. We'll take them. We'll take them. No, this is not one of my greatest moments. There's a reason why I'm about to talk about all this stuff in a minute. Fight. Fight. That's still me. Before the army. Before the hip replacement. We'll come running to your side. We will protect you from your fright. All of us are on your side. We'll take them. We'll take them down. We'll take them down. Pretty fast, wasn't I? Don't worry, there's more. I think. Okay, so minus that part. So now it's my turn to explain all that. When I made that video, I was in my 30s, and I was honoring my favorite Power Ranger, the Yellow Ranger, Miss Trini Kwan. That has nothing to do with this video whatsoever. But that was one of my best stuff. Everything else I have on my phone is blurry and sticky, and I had to find that on Facebook. So there you go. I don't know how to make the phone filters work, so I can't show you any of my bloopers and all the other stuff. And you can find most of my stuff on Kung Fu Havoc #1. Now, let's get down to the nitty-gritty on why I'm making this video. Okay, so there's been a lot of hoopla and stink eye and cock eye and fuck the world because of some shit that Michael Jai White has said about Bruce Lee, which he has recanted, and everyone's been picking sides and throwing all kinds of fucking clusterfucks and all kinds of problems and things. And I've touched on this before, so again, with all due respect to Mr. White, and the fact that he is Spawn, and I'm a fucking Spawn fan, and I'm not here to disrespect him or do anything stupid. So don't take this video the wrong way. And also, due to my hip replacement, my martial art career is practically done before it even begun. Just like my army career was practically done before it begun. So, here's the thing. I'm pissed off about something that he said. Not about him being able to beat Bruce Lee. Because many people, not just Michael Jai White, has claimed that shit. But everybody seems to be claiming that due to the fact that there's just one little dose of reality that everybody forgets. He's dead. So yeah, of course you can beat Bruce Lee. Anybody can say they can beat a dead man. Anybody. Me, everybody. I have never said I can beat Bruce Lee. I've always said I want to be the next Bruce Lee. But as far as beating him, I got way too much respect and admiration for that. Now, I'm not here to chunk Michael Jai White about anything about that. However, that little phrase about size matters in a fight, that pissed me off. Everyone's bigger than me. And every person I've ever fought in my life has been bigger than me. And I have beaten their ass. And size does not matter. Skill matters. Knowledge matters. Size don't mean shit. Right guy, right skill, wrong motherfucking day. And size don't mean shit. Now here's the reason why I say that. I'm 5'3.5". I'm about $125, $130, somewhere in there. Before that, when I was 15, when I was 20, I've been stuck at $120. Everyone I've ever faced has never come back for a rematch. And everyone that I've lost in a sparring match has never decided to give me a rematch because they woke a sleeping dragon. Specifically a guy who was from New York who only fought me one time, and he was a smoker, so he didn't have another round. So he won by sheer default. I haven't forgotten you, fucker. Yeah, I haven't. You're still a coward. You're still a punk bitch because instead of jumping on the people's throat who were there when my cousin got killed, you wanted to take it out on me, a working black man, instead of a drug dealing, smoking, wheezing, popping dickhead like yourself. Okay, so I might have went a little bit too far with that, but I don't give a shit because you know what? If he would have been a real man, he would have accepted my challenge the day my cousin was buried and showed up at my house at 11 o'clock like he should have. I waited for 6 hours. The challenge was made at 5. Come 11 o'clock, he never showed the fuck up because he was in his trip back to New York. Now, also, it's not where you're from. It's what you can do. Size does not matter in a fight. It's your skill level, and a lot of it is luck and training. Then you just watch me on video doing martial arts. And I know you're probably thinking, why haven't you been discovered, James? Well, I live in buttfuck Virginia. Okay? I don't have any money to leave buttfuck Virginia. There's a movie studio here in buttfuck Virginia, in Petersburg to be exact, and what they told me at the door was that if you're not a member of that person who runs its family, or if you're not a member of SAG, oh, by the way, we also don't do kung fu movies, but what the fuck was The Expendables? If not a glorified shoot-'em-up / kung fu movie because Jet Li and Dolph Lundgren aren't kung fu champions, I would have been discovered back in my 20s. But again, we don't do kung fu movies. So here's where I am at 44. I wanted to work in Virginia because my parents' health wasn't great, and it would have been so much easier for me to get offset and drive 3 hours up the road to check on my parents, then drive 3 hours back down the road, get some sleep, and be back to work the next damn day. But if I'm working in California, there's no way that I'm going to get special treatment to charter a plane all the way back to my parents if they're dying or something. Well, now I only have one parent left, so it doesn't really matter. But that studio's still open, and supposedly they still don't make kung fu movies because my black ass hasn't been discovered and I'm not working. Alright? So we got that out of the way. Now back to the subject at hand. I don't have nothing against Michael Jai White. He did very well against Van Damme in Universal Soldier: The Return. He did very well against the Toxic Avenger, and he did very well in a bunch of other movies in which he had played in Prison, Blood and Bone, or whatever, where he fucked up Kimbo Slice and fucked up everybody. And, you know, He's a good martial artist. Hell, he's one of the best black martial artists there is. And then you have to add in, if you're going to compare him to anyone, you have to put him up in there with some of the WMAC masters like Eric Betts. You have to put him in there with Willie the Bam. You have to put him in there with Hakeem the Machine Olsen. Need I go on? T-Mac from The Last Dragon. Those guys are also black guys. You know, I'm multicultural, but as far as the law is concerned, I'm black. You've seen what I could do back in my 30s and my 20s when I didn't have this bionic hip that the doctors just don't allow me to do shit. But the one difference between all of them and me is that they're all over 5'5". All the guys I named are 5'7" or better. Just like Michael Jai White, who's like 6'1". No. Now, granted, all those guys are also over the 140-pound mark. Most of them are in the 170s and such. And, you know, and Michael Jai White's nothing but perfection with muscle and all that stuff. But in a fight, as a martial artist, what he failed to tell you guys, and what every martial artist should have told you guys, or what most masters tell you if the ones that are real masters are going to teach you everything that you need to know, is that the more defined your muscle tone is, the easier it is for someone who knows what you know to pick your ass apart. So having a little bit of body fat doesn't hurt. But I'm sure most people don't want you to know that because they want you to be all ripped up and stuff, and that's fine. You can be ripped, you can be cut, and you can be in great shape. But if you're too ripped up and your definition is so defined that I can get to one point that I need on your body because your muscle tone has left it wide open for me, then that's where I'm going to strike. A person who can't breathe can't whoop your ass, and it don't matter how big that motherfucker is. Alright? A person who can't stand can still fuck you up. As a master of martial arts and a jack of all trades, there are things that you have to know. Jeet Kune Do was made, or what it means is, way of the intercepting fist. But what it secretly means is, to beat your ass, you must be able to adapt very swiftly in the middle of combat. You have to use what works and you throw away what doesn't work. That's why a lot of people take Jeet Kune Do, because it takes our tradition and it is the beginning of the MMA universe. Alright? So as a martial artist, and you've seen what I could do when I was healthy, doesn't mean I can't do it now. It just means that I shouldn't do it because the doctors fucking said so. Which is why I haven't made a martial art movie in forever. It kills me every day that I can't go out and train like you've seen in that video. And here's the thing. I've never fought anybody smaller than me. Ever. Because there is no one smaller than me. I'm 5'3". It's not a whole lot of dudes that's striking at 5'3". Anybody that I've seen that's beneath 5'3" was in the army with me at like 5'1", 5'2". We don't fuck with them. None of them were drill sergeants, but they were just a fraction of a bit smaller than me, but they were was cut bigger than me. So like I said, there is no one really smaller than me. Yeah, I got a fat stomach now. No. I'm going to get back into shape or I'm going to die trying. But I wanted to chime in on this because here's the thing. Alright, he said it. He meant it. He took it back. He meant it. And I respect that. But here's the thing. Because I've said this last night. I posted a video when I talked to another guy. I left him like almost 4 paragraphs. And the thing about people, if you have taken a martial art, or if you thought about taking a martial art, and you don't know how dangerous Bruce Lee is, it's really fucking common sense that everyone who's taken a martial art thinks they're great. And they want to be as good, if not better, than Bruce Lee. Now, for us who have taken martial arts, we know, hands down, that there will never be anyone as good as him in our lifetime. Now, we got some people from the Paul Mitchell martial art team that do the 360-degree spin and kick. Mark Dacascos does it. If you ever seen the movie Only the Strong, he uses it as the final kick to fight the bad guy. That's a badass move. Now, these younger kids coming up are doing these exceptionally 360s or 650s and 440s and all these twisting and kicking and stuff. And in a real fight, that shit is absolutely fucking useless. Because if you coming at me with a butterfly kick to turn it into a 360, that butterfly kick might have worked. But you spending the game momentum to fuck me up. And you think I'm just going to stand there with my guard up and let that shit happen. Fuck no. I'm sidestepping, and all that shit you've done is just wasted your energy and let you into the trap that I set for your ass. Combat is not a joke. The combat you see in movies is not the same thing as if you break it down and you're fighting in the fucking streets. Now, granted, it might look more like a Jackie Chan movie, but at that same note, you know, these guys are real, honest-to-God martial artists, just like Michael Jai White. The problem is, in real life, fights don't last that long. Fights don't last more than 2 to 5 minutes unless it's in a UFC match where you have 3 5-minute rounds or 5 3-minute rounds or whatever. These guys have been conditioned to make the fight go longer because that's where the money is. The longer the fight lays out, the more dough you're going to make. A lot of people didn't let little guys like me fight because the fights only lasted 3 to 5 minutes, one round. Now, in my 20s and in my 30s, UFC didn't have a phantom lightweight like they do now. So now that I'm in my 40s, there's no way in hell I would ever get cleared with this hip. Plus, I need a second hip to get into a UFC ring. So I pretty much could give Dana White the finger for that because, you know, dude, I had talent. I had skill. I had no money to get to Las Vegas. And there's a lot of people like me out here that's just as great, if not better. But without opportunity, we can't shine. So there may have been people out there in the 70s better than Bruce Lee. But again, without opportunities, they couldn't shine. But however, without Bruce Lee, they would have never got their opportunity because he had to run around the back and kick in the side door to make sure that people like me would be known. That people like Michael Jai White, Hakeem the Machine Olsen, Turbo, Olympus, Kid Carmichael Simon, Murmur Chen, Chameleon. Need I go on? Like people in the WMAC, Jason David Frank from Power Rangers would get an opportunity to do what we do and what we love. Chuck Norris. No. Bruce Lee got Chuck Norris' first acting role. The game of, not the Game of Death, the Return of the Dragon, when they filmed in the Greek Coliseum. That was Chuck Norris' first movie. And from there, he blew up. David Carradine took the role that was meant for Bruce Lee as Kwai Chang Caine. He blew up. And he barely knew 2 katas. Which is why if you look at the show, you'd have to be a martial artist to understand what he's actually doing. And if you're not a martial artist, or you don't know martial arts, then it looks cool as shit. But basically, he did the same 2 katas and the same 2 kicks. And before Chuck Norris started catching up, his age started catching up with him, and before Walker, Texas Ranger, Chuck did all kinds of shit. But in Walker, Texas Ranger, if you've noticed, he only did 3 basic kicks. But no one pays attention to that if they're not a martial artist. And when it wasn't him, it was his brother Aaron that was doing the fight scenes. Reading is fundamental. But you look at Sammo and you look at Jackie, who are the same age as Chuck, if not older, if not younger, it's them. It's them. It's straight up them. You look at Jet Li, he's 10 years older than me. So I'm 44, he's 54. He still was doing his shit in his 30s and 40s. And probably will be doing his shit in his 50s if he comes out of retirement and makes more action movies. But there's no guarantee that's going to happen. But Jackie just did a movie called The Foreigner. I don't know where it is because I didn't get to see it. I'm not even sure if it's been released here yet. And if it has, I totally missed it. But Jackie's 60-something years old and still moving like a fucking 20-year-old. So, yeah, age and being in shape has a lot to do with it. And most Asians are more mentally and physically disciplined than most blacks or whites. And that being said, you know, I'm going to agree with the guy that I did the thing on there where he would have had 135 pounds of problem with Bruce Lee. Again, size does not matter in a fight. And for the record, if you guys can find the original shoot fighting videos, which probably have been banned, definitely illegal, kind of like the Faces of Fear videos, back when they first came out, back in the late 80s, early 90s, when the shoot fighting was like sanctioned, but not sanctioned in Asia, it was a little Chinese woman and a little Chinese man. They beat up everybody, both standing in the height of 5'3" and 5'1". Both never being defeated. They beat up people like the Kamala. They beat up people that was as big as Brock Lesnar. And they usually won every fucking time. Now, I can't say if the combat was staged because I never went to one. But I've seen the videos. And you don't bleed in stage combat. So, you got to think about this shit. And then some Americans came in with a watered down version of shoot fighting. But it's still just as lethal as hell. And then there have been videos I've been watching where people are chalking down Steven Seagal, and they're chalking down Frank Dukes, and they're chalking down all these people. I say, well, here's my thing on that. Alright, if you think you can beat Bruce Lee, that's cool. I'm not going to knock you on that, because, one, he's a dead man. But Frank Dukes, on the other hand, was the first American ninja. Go fight that motherfucker. Let's see if you can beat him. And if you can beat him, let's go see if you can fight Chuck Norris. Then you're getting somewhere, because they're in that Bruce Lee range. But everybody started calling Frank Dukes a phony like 2 or 3 years ago. And I'm sitting there like, y'all motherfuckers don't understand. That's Frank motherfucking Dukes. Plus what was made after him. I'm not going to knock Frank Dukes because now that he's old, you probably might be able to take him out a little bit. A younger man that's in better shape. He probably hasn't kept up with his katas and shit, So you might be able to take out Frank Dukes. But, like, if you say something about somebody like Mark Dacascos or some shit like that, yeah, you got 220 pounds of problem. No, you want to take on somebody like Tony Jaa, who apparently doesn't have nuts. You may have 145 pounds of problem, because he's actually pretty skinny, but he's tall. He's like, if he's heavy, it's all in his height. Here's the thing about martial artists. Every martial artist on earth swears they're better than Bruce Lee. Every fucking one of us. There's not a martial artist on earth that doesn't know who Bruce Lee is and doesn't swear that they are better, or they can be better, or they're going to get there. Well, here's the thing. Bruce Lee was a fucking phenomenon. It's just that simple. He eat, breathe, and slept martial arts day in and day out. And most of us don't have that discipline. We don't. I used to train like that day in and day out. Then I started messing with girls. And then Van Damme and Seagal fucked that up for us, because if you were a martial artist, girls in Virginia had read about that Van Damme ass whooping that he gave his wife and the Steven Seagal ass whooping, and they wanted nothing to do with us at all. Unless they were already dating you and they knew about you. It's a whole different level when someone knows who you are. I'm going to make a second video to this. But I just wanted you guys to know, size does not matter in a fight. Especially it depends on what skill you have been taught. Judo was specifically designed for small people like me to throw around big people. However, I do live in reality, and judo has its tricks too, and you can counter that shit with another style of judo. Be ready.